The forest was unnervingly silent. My son and I had only stepped away for a short walk, 10, maybe 15 minutes at most. But when we came back to camp, everything had vanished. The tents, the coolers of food, the vehicles, even the chatter and laughter of the people we had arrived with, gone. All that remained was a cheap folding table. On top of it sat a single sheet of paper, held down by a rock. My son's hands trembled as he picked it up. His voice cracked as he read. "This is for the best. Trust me." It was written in my wife's handwriting. A hollow weight pressed against my chest as the truth sank in. They hadn't gotten lost. They hadn't gone for help. They had deserted us. No phones, no supplies. Just me and my 10-year-old boy, abandoned in the depths of the wilderness. His wide eyes lifted to mine. "Dad, are we going to die out here?" I placed a steady hand on his shoulder, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "No, son, we'll survive. And when we make it out, they'll regret what they did." Chapter 2, 10 Days in the Wild. The first night. The hardest part was the first night. My boy curled against me under the open sky, shaking not only from the cold but from fear. We had no tent, no stove, no supplies. All I had was my jacket, half a bottle of water, and a stubborn determination to keep him alive. Days 1 to 3. Survival instincts. We threw together a rough lean-to from branches and leaves. I showed him how to catch rainwater using my shirt and a hollowed-out log. When his stomach rumbled, I taught him how to recognize safe berries and how to set small snares using strips of our shoelaces. At night, when coyotes howled in the distance, I wrapped my arms around him and told him stories, how his grandfather had once taught me the very same skills. It calmed him. In truth, it calmed me, too. Days 4 to 6, the breaking point. By the 4th day, fatigue hit us hard. His lips were dry and cracked, his steps weak and unsteady. He asked again, "Are we going to die?" I met his eyes so much like mine, and forced a smile. "We're not dying out here. We're going to show them exactly who we are." At that point, it wasn't just about staying alive. It was about proving that the people who left us couldn't destroy us. On the 6th day, we discovered a stream. We drank until our bellies hurt, and I silently gave thanks to the heavens. Days 7 to 10, strength returns. We cut crude walking sticks and followed the stream downhill. On the 10th day, stumbling and filthy, we emerged onto a dirt road. A park ranger's truck appeared around the bend. His eyes went wide at the sight of us. "My God, people have been searching for you for more than a week. Your wife said you wandered off and never came back." I glanced at my son. His small jaw clenched tight. For the first time, I saw anger in his eyes. "She lied," he whispered. I nodded. Survival was over. Now it was war. Chapter 3, Homecoming. When we climbed out of the ranger's truck back in town, people gasped. Cameras flashed. To outsiders, we were a miracle, a father and son who had beaten impossible odds. But I knew the truth. This was only the beginning of another battle. The story they told. At the police station, officers explained what my wife and her friends had claimed. They must have wandered off and never returned. We looked everywhere. We were so worried. Some of them even shed crocodile tears, offering to help with the search. But their lies had holes. Records showed they hadn't entered the forest once after the first day. No missing person flyers. No hospital calls. Nothing. The police chief leaned across his desk. "Frankly, we're suspicious. People don't just abandon an entire campsite like that." I stayed silent, resting my hand on my son's shoulder. Rage burned inside me, but revenge demanded patience. The loyalty of my children. That night, my daughter ran into my arms sobbing. "Dad," I knew she was lying. "She told everyone you'd run away, but I didn't believe her." My son, still bruised from 10 days in the wild, whispered, "She left us to die. I'll never forgive her." In that moment, I understood. My fight wasn't just for me. It was for them. They needed to see justice served. The first move. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Together, we began gathering evidence. The note she left on the table, the ranger's testimony, the police report showing they never truly searched. This was only the beginning. We gathered every piece of proof we could find. Medical records showing my son's dehydration and weight loss, financial statements revealing their so-called girls' trip, expenses while we were stranded, and screenshots of their smiling social media posts while we fought to stay alive. We didn't confront them directly. We didn't argue. Instead, we built a case so strong it would crush them under its weight. And when the time came, we would reveal it publicly, the same way they had abandoned us. The storm breaks. The fallout began sooner than I expected. Once investigators connected the dots, the note in my wife's handwriting, the ranger's testimony, and their non-existent search efforts, things unravel fast. What my wife and her friends believed was a clever escape suddenly looked like something far darker. Attempted murder by abandonment. Detectives separated them for questioning. My wife clung to her story. He wandered off. We tried to find him. But the lies fell apart quickly. Bank statements showed spa treatments and dinners charged during the days they claimed to be searching. Social media posts of them laughing over cocktails sealed their fate. The note she left on the table, her own words, was entered into evidence. The police chief told me quietly, this wasn't carelessness. She planned this. Trial by public opinion. News spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed, father and son abandoned in wilderness survived 10 days. Wife and friends faced charges after chilling note surfaces. The world was furious. Online, they were painted as monsters. Reporters hounded them outside their homes. Employers quickly severed ties. Even their own families refused to defend them. The legal counterattack. With my lawyer, I filed for full custody of my children, citing endangerment and abuse. The judge wasted no time. Her parental rights were stripped immediately. Civil suits followed, damages, medical expenses, emotional trauma, reputational harm. Their accounts were frozen by court order. The luxury trips, the cocktails, the spa days, all gone. Now, every dollar they had went to paying defense attorneys, trying desperately to stay out of prison. The emotional blow, the most powerful moment came in the courtroom. My son, his voice shaky but strong, stood up before the judge. She left us to die. I never want to live with her again. Gasps rippled through the room. My wife collapsed into tears, but not a soul moved to comfort her. Her friends couldn't even meet her eyes. The same people who once laughed while driving away from us now sat in silence, realizing they had destroyed their own lives. Chapter 5, Final Justice. The sentencing. The courtroom became the place where everything finally came full circle. My wife and her friends, once smug enough to leave us in the woods, now stood shackled in handcuffs, trembling. The prosecutor laid it bare. This was no accident. This was deliberate abandonment, premeditated. The evidence, the note, the financial records, the ranger's words, my son's testimony, was undeniable. The judge's gavel struck. Guilty. Each one was sentenced to prison for reckless endangerment and attempted manslaughter. No suspended sentences. No mercy. The collapse. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Once, my wife had loved attention, posing for pictures, bathing in admiration. Now, every flash only carved her infamy deeper. Her friends were shunned. Employers cut them off. Families disowned them. They weren't simply disgraced. They were untouchable. The real closure. For me, the true moment of justice came not with the sentencing, but afterward. My son tugged on my sleeve, whispering, "Dad, we survived together." I pulled him close, tears stinging my eyes, not from sorrow, but from pride. He had walked through fire and come out stronger. Epilogue, poetic justice. Years later, my wife never adapted to prison. Once admired at brunches and social gatherings, she became just another inmate number. Her friends turned on each other quickly, scrambling for lighter sentences. Betrayal ate them alive from within, the same way they once tried to consume me and my son. When I later read a short line in the local paper, inmate denied early release due to lack of remorse, I didn't feel rage, just pity, a rebuilt life. My son grew into a man shaped by scars, but stronger because of them. Those 10 days had hardened him, but they had also bonded us unbreakably. He became a leader, resilient steady, loyal. Together, we shared our story, first in classrooms, then survival programs, and eventually on national stages. We were no longer victims. We were living proof of endurance. The final twist. One evening, after finishing a keynote at a survival fundraiser, my son leaned in and whispered with a smile, "Dad, remember the note? This is for the best." Trust me. I nodded and he laughed softly. Turns out she was right. It really was for the best. The audience rose to their feet in applause. In that moment, I realized the full truth. They had left us in the forest to die, but in doing so, they had destroyed only themselves. And out of that wilderness, my son and I emerged, not just alive, but unbreakable,